episode 645. And what we are going to discuss today is the economy while I do my penny roll hunting of a 50 cent penny customer wrapped penny roll. So, as I'm making this video, the economy is in the toilet. They are talking about doing stimulus again. And if they do that, then it will, and cutting interest rates. So if they do quantitative easing, which is basically printing money, right? So there's quantitative easing and there's quantitative tightening. If they start to print money again, that will stimulate the economy and will create inflation. And all right, so that's the first thing you need to understand. Anything that stimulates the economy creates inflation. Anything. They're one in inflation and stimulation is the same thing. It's the same thing. To stimulate the economy is to inflate the economy. That's it. I mean, it's because you're taking something from somewhere and you're putting it into somewhere else. So you're taking money from the government and you're putting it into people's pockets. You're taking money from the government and you're putting it into corporations, right? Through bailouts, through programs that help them along with what's that called? Like what they got with the car batteries, the electric cars. If you buy it, that you get discounts, you get money back, rebates, through less restrictive borrowing, through all of that stuff. But you're taking money from one place, from the government, 2017p, and you're putting it into someone's pocket or someone's bank account. That is quantitative easing. Stimulus is putting it into people's pockets, which then they go out and they spend, and that money goes back into the corporates, into the producers. It flows upwards. But you just increased the money supply, which means there's more money out in the economy. People raise prices, and that's inflate. That's why raising prices is what inflation is, right? Very simply. So there's no way around that. The world economy, since the first fiat coin was made, all right, when was the first fiat coin made? That I'm not exactly sure of, but I know that coins go back thousands of years. They have coins with the image of Christ on them. And what they did was, so you might say, oh yeah, thousands of years ago, they weren't printing money. Yeah, but they were making coins. And what they did was, so if you had a silver coin, right, from Greece, for example, 2,500 years ago, I'm not sure if the Greeks did this, but I'm 99% sure the Romans did it towards the end, is that they started adding other metals to the coins. So that's basically money printing, because they had the same coin, but then it bought less. It's inflation, right? They added tin, they added bronze, they added something to The silver coin that was once 100% silver. And they were doing this thousands of years ago. Got my coffee here. There's no difference between that and turning on the printing press at the mint and or pressing a button at the Fed and transferring billions of dollars over to whoever. It's not. So this has been going on for years. And you might say, why would people do that for? Greed. That's it. It's greed. People who have control over the printing presses at the Fed, at the mint, whatever, in any economy, print so that way politicians and corporate shareholders, people at the top 0.1%, they already know where that money is going to flow to, so they can get it. So what they do is they'll very temporarily, people at the bottom, for example, through stimulus, will see money. If you're lucky, it'll last you a few years. Usually it's kind of more temporary. COVID lasted, the stimulus from COVID lasted about, I'm going to say 2 years. It could be less, but let's say 2 years from first stimulus to last stimulus. And the last stimulus, the effect probably lasted about 3 or 4 months, something like that, for the amount of money they gave. And that's how economies work in a nutshell. Money is printed. They and now money can also come out of the economy, and that's usually when you're going the other direction, you're going into recession. And yes, theoretically, enough money can be taken out of the economy um, through taxes and through sales of bonds and treasuries and other monetary devices. Yes, looking for the flare G. No flare G. So yes, there are plenty of ways to quantitative tightening, right? Decreasing lending. So that all of that is what leads to recessions, deflation, stagflation, and the stagnation of an economy, which is what we're in right now, right? People are broke because interest rates were slightly higher than they had been several years ago, and the interest rates went up so quickly from 0 to 7. Let's say I'm ballparking it there. Interest rates went up so quick from 0 to 7 that we have, as human beings, we have very short memories. Okay, like we forget things that happened yesterday, forget about years ago. But they raised interest rates from 0 to 7% so quickly, right, during COVID. So when they were giving money away to people, it was at the same exact time. Is this a copper penny too? Yeah, that's the other one. At the same exact time that interest rates were like 0%. I mean, plus prime, right? So maybe if you went for people were buying houses. I got my house at, I think, 3.35%, which is like super duper low. I know someone who refinanced to 2009. Someone who refinanced to like 2.5%. I mean, it was unheard of stuff. It was free money, man. Bottom line, it was free money, and stuff was still cheap, pretty cheap, cheaper, like half the price they are today 5 years ago for a lot of things. My house has doubled since we purchased it 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, going on 7.5 years ago. So we still remember, right? It's only been 5 years. So it's not like if these interest rates would have stayed for another 5 or 10 years, we would have started to forget about what it was like, or what an absolute stunner, what a beauty. A $1, we found a $1 penny today. We found a $1 penny. What a beauty, a stunner. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Then it would have became the norm, right? So in the 70s, inflation was high. I think it went up to like close to 20% or something, like ridiculous amounts of it. The interest rate was like 15 to 20% at any given point in the 70s, 1970s. And that becomes the norm, right? So you adjust to it. But they raise interest rates from 0 to 7 so quickly that people are like, we had we even though we forget, we still have muscle memory, and um we're still behavior oriented. We get into routine. You get used to things costing a certain amount. You get used to inflation, excuse me, interest rates being at a certain point, and then you make up your mind, oh, I don't want to pay more than that. Now, what I'm saying is that another 5 or 10 years, another beautiful penny, another 5 or 10 years, you would have forgot about COVID for the most part, as far as the effect of it, the long term effect. And you would have been like, oh, 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%. This is normal. And you would have started to, people would have started to purchase again without thinking it was going to come back down. But what are they doing? They're lowering interest rates now, right? Why? Because they want to stimulate the economy again. So interest rates are coming back down again. They want to get rid of the government wants to get rid of the Fed and the Federal Reserve, and put in people who are more, um, who are going to do what our government wants right now, which is to lower interest rates to stimulate the economy, which is basically quantitative easing, and without printing money, right? So remember, I was talking about there are several ways that the economy gets stimulated, either through printing money or through lowering interest rates. So the government wants to lower interest rates to stimulate the economy because we are basically in a recession, and recessions are very bad for politics. And sorry about that. I had my coins in the wrong place on the table. Recessions are very bad for politics, and the midterms are coming up, and they don't want. It's a copper penny. I'll throw this into the heavily circulated. And people vote with their wallets. So they are going to, I promise you, if I'm wrong, then, well, if I'm wrong, then it's over for the party in charge right now. That that's it. If they don't stimulate the economy and get people happy again by before September or by September of 2026, it's a wrap for them. I don't care what their fake polls say or anything like that. So they will do it. They will do it. That's the bottom line. They will do it. And of course, the other side will not want them to do that, right? So they'll resist them from stimulating the economy, because especially right before an election, because then they know that people are going to vote against them. So they'll vote against stimulus so that their side will get more votes during, well, whatever election is coming up. So that's how that works. And it's all a big game, right? Between the top 1% who are working with foreign countries and working with politicians, and they're just juggling it back and forth, what they're going to do with interest rates, the mint, the Federal Reserve, the mint printing press, the Treasury, and interest rates. And that is the basics of what moves our economy either upwards or downwards. And interest, excuse me, and inflation is the one. Oh, we set a nice 48, a nice 48. And inflation is the thing, is the machine. Inflation is none of this works without inflation. None of it. There is no economy without well, there is an economy, but there is no economy as we know it today without inflation. Inflation is what creates emotion in people, right? Because it's, oh, another beautiful copper. Look at these. Oh my goodness, those are three beauties. I'm so happy, and a wheat cent. What a great penny roll hunt this is. So inflation is the monster, is the machine by which is the machine. And interest rates and money printing is the gas, is the fuel. Okay. Inflation is the machine, and interest rates and money printing is the fuel of the machine, of the economy, because that's what moves the interest rates. Excuse me. That's what moves inflation either upwards or downwards. And no one, when I say no one, I'm talking about no one in government wants inflation to go wants it to go to zero, right? Because zero means stagnant. That means nothing's moving, right? If there's zero inflation, now you might say, well, why doesn't they keep saying that they want? See, I'm looking at the rim there, or lack there of rim. Why would the government not? Why would the government say that we want to get inflation down so you can afford to buy eggs and cars and houses? And why would they say that but not mean it? And again, I'm talking about 99%. Yes, there is that one person uh, who is kind of more for the people per se. Like, I have my certain politicians that I think are, there's a few of them, like a few. I'm talking about like five in the whole out of thousands of senator, congressmen, assemblymen, out of thousands, um, there's maybe five that I kind of like, maybe 10 on the high side. So that's nothing. You're talking about a small percentage, and usually it's because uh, whatever whatever geography that they come from, they fit in with their with the people who elect them, and the people who elect them from that area really really love them, and that's a nice 2017 P, and keep them chugging along. But otherwise, it's all smoke and mirrors, right? It's about what's on the news, advertising, and then there's some places where that when you go to vote, that there's only really that you only know who one person is, and it's the person that the money is it's all crooked, right? So they say one thing but they mean another. They say they want to lower interest rates, but they don't. They excuse me. Yeah, they do want to lower interest rate. They say that they want to lower inflation, but they don't want to lower inflation, right? Because they have the inside. Politicians are basically inside traders. They're getting the scoop on everything ahead of time, right? When things are going to be sold, when things are going to be hot, when to short the market, when the bottom is for something to buy, and when it's going to go. They know all this stuff, man. And becoming a politician for most of these people, or staying in power, staying with their seat, all that means is that they continue to make millions and millions of dollars in ways that the average American cannot, through their inside track, their inside understanding of what's going on. Let me see how many pennies I got here for my short videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 10. All right, very good. I was going to make this one of them. This is a really beautiful 22. But I don't have to, because we have wheat cents, we have beautiful copper pennies, 2017 P's, a 2009, and what's this? Why is this over there? And we got tons and tons and tons and tons of copper. We found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 copper pennies, of which 3 of them are mint state, which is just incredible. That's the 81, a 61D, and another 81. And another 81, and then we got the wheat cent, of course. I think the 48. Is the 48 anything? What is the 48? It's in really nice condition. It's at least in extra fine condition. 1948 wheat cent, wheat penny. There's 11 watches at $100 on this 1948. That's got to be not a mistake or something. Not a big deal. All right, let me take a picture of this also for the thumbnail. It's a really nice looking 1948. I really didn't even get into what I wanted to start talking about, which was what to do to preserve your financial futures. I just got into the mechanics behind the economy and why you need to do things, right? Because inflation eats away at the value of your money. So either you have things that go up with inflation, or you don't, and that's the bottom line. And that's where I was trying to get to, and I was unable. Sorry. So let's look at this 1948. Let's go to lowest first, and then look, buy it now, and see if you want to buy a nice looking 1948. How much would it cost? A buck. A buck. It's $1. So we found the $1 penny, and then we found these beautiful, beautiful mint state copper pennies. We found 3 of them. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will continue this discussion on the economy because it's super relevant. I really am going to keep talking about it probably until, as long as this channel goes on, because I have to get people who do not understand how the economy works. So what does this have to do with pennies? Pennies are coins. They're stopping making them soon. And for example, I just showed you how this penny here is worth $1, right? That's 100x. This penny one day, it's worth $1 today. One day this penny will be worth $2. And this penny will be a better hedge against inflation than your job. Okay? If you have a job that somebody else pays you money, they are not paying you in what's the word I'm looking for? At the same rate as inflation is going up. I promise they're not. That's their job is to save money, right? Again, it's a whole nother video. But if you're working for someone for 10, 20, 30 years, you're most likely you are not. I remember working at a place for 5 years, and in 5 years, inflation probably went up 10. I'm going to say 10%, but my pay increase was 5%. So the company is saving money because they're paying me less than what but their stock went up 20%. You follow me? It's very complicated, but you need to own things that will go up in value, and coins are one of those things that do go up in value. Yes, there's a whole dynamic to valuation on coins and which ones go up better than others, precious metal, all kinds of stuff. It's very complicated. But this penny will be worth $2 one day. That's a guarantee. And that'll be 200x for what I paid for it. And there's nothing that anybody out there owns that's going to do 100 or 200x. Nothing. Stock market has not went up 100x probably in, I could look at it, but I'm going to say it's probably about 50 years. 100x means that the S&P, for example, was $1, and now it's $100. That the S&P was, let's say it was 100, and now it's 10,000. So that hasn't happened. And I don't think that's happened probably maybe 50 to 100 years. But this penny has already done it in, well, if you want to look at 48, but really you could even look at this one of these pennies here. These pennies are worth about a quarter or 50 cents in this condition. Anyway, my point is pennies are gotta have to be one of the easiest ways to generate tangible assets, to get into the understanding of what a tangible asset is at the cheapest level. This is it. This is the cheapest tangible asset that you can get, that, and to really get an understanding of inflation. So if this is worth $1 today, but in 5 years from now it's worth $1.25, you could track how that's inflation, right? It's not because it became more valuable. It's the same value. It's just keeping up with the rate of inflation. That's all. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. I'll keep talking about this until I have and forever, because we'll get new viewers, and people will, why are you doing pennies? What do you mean it's worth it keeps up with inflation? And I'll just keep talking about it. And again, if I get comments that are intellectual, and I will discuss people's comments in the video. I just haven't gotten many of those, unfortunately. But hopefully that changes. God bless. This is episode, like I said, 645. I'll see you in episode 646.